Hello, everyone. What's
Good
up?
morrow,
Good
everyone.
morrow. How y'all doing? I hope y'all are doing well. This
Yes.
is an interesting day. Now, before we get started and before I start doing any of the things, the thing that I want to say first and foremost is absolutely not, under zero circumstances, do we, as per usual, use this space to bash or belittle other creators. That's not what this
Yes.
conversation is about. I know that a lot of ish has popped up. We
This
actually had planned
is
this like 2 weeks
like
ago.
2 or 3 weeks ago. Literally, it's not just about like it's not a space to bash creators. It's like we're not talking about specific people, period, tonight. That's not the
Correct.
point. So,
Correct. Like,
yes.
I just feel so like it's so weird. Like, we had already planned it, and I was like, I'm not gonna unplan it, because we already had
Because
it
it is a good
planned.
topic and we talked it through and done things like that. So,
Yeah, so I was
yeah.
just like, I don't really want to do like a whole, like, I don't want to try to come up with a new floofy idea, and we wanted to talk about
No.
this. So that being said, a huge, huge thank you to our moderators. Thank you for all of the free work that you do. You are greatly appreciated, especially for keeping the space safe for everybody in here. Please refer to the pinned comment, which I did. I
After a little prodding for me when you were like, it's fine. And I'm like,
don't want to. And then also a huge shout out to the channel members and patrons. Really appreciate y'all. Last night's hang was fun. If you did
so
not get to
good.
catch it live, y'all can watch it on the replay. And finalmente,
Yes.
thank all of you here for the live, for being here in the live stream, and appreciate each and every one of you for being here, for lurking.
Ah,
Whether or not you're lurking, you can lurk away. Listen while you shower.
yeah.
It's fine. It's not weird. And for everybody who watched it on the replay, thank you so, so much. And the reason I brought up Mira Beauty is because that, my friends, is what is on my little eyes. That's right.
I already had both of those 9 pans on my radar. And now I'm like, oh,
Yeah, this be
typey,
the
typey,
greed.
typey, typey. That's me right now.
This is the greed. And I was like, yes, bitch. And I'm doing my best Britney bullshit. So like, come say hi on my on my Instagram. All right. And for those of you that don't know, obviously this is my dear friend Emily. We stream
Yes.
together now
Hello.
on either one of our channels. We alternate once a week for public consumption, and then once a week for our patrons. So
Yes.
my shirt says "Stay true, stay you." It's an old Pride shirt I got. Like, I feel like I got this like 2 years ago. My mom actually,
Nice.
I think, bought it. And she like let me, like, we were at the store and she was like, if you want a shirt, pick a shirt. But here's the thing, it's another one of them. It's the crop top situation I said I would have, which is like under booby
You
problems. So
look glorious in crop tops, by the way. I also wanted to say I'm finally the proud owner of Watermark, the one of the like most beautiful JD Glow shadows that I had not owned, and that is what's on my eyes with some good God thrown in there, but like mostly Watermark. I just had to show it off because I know a lot of people that are here in the chat right now are in Team Watermark. So, and if you're not, you should be.
yes.
Yes.
Alrighty,
Anyway,
y'all.
sorry. Just
No,
a
you're
little makeup
fine.
moment to lighten the
No,
mood. You know,
we
you
should. I
gotta
like to
gotta
have
get
it at the
into it.
beginning, not the end. Have the makeup
Yes.
fun at the beginning.
Okay. This is the best band name.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I drink male tears
Uh,
for satisfaction. Sorry. Apologies. So to get started, one of the reasons I actually started thinking about this is because I just wondered, like, just generally, especially in American culture, I don't know how it is everywhere else, but just generally, I find that every time something happens with creators, there's always this like bit of tug and push to either get them to admit that, oh, sorry, I forgot that this movie's on. Um, my apologies. To either get them to admit that they're wrong and say that they're wrong, or it takes a really long time for them, or sometimes they just don't say anything at all, or they won't admit it and they just keep going
yeah.
on. And I started trying to figure out like why that is. And one of the first things I came to is like, I looked at it from an individual level first, right? Like, as an individual, one on one, if Emily tells me I have done something wrong, I it's just like a natural inclination to be upset, right? It's just a
Yeah.
natural inclination. I think most of us, like, we take a moment, we're like, how can I be? Because being right,
Defensiveness is like just a natural reaction, at least for me and for
yeah,
most people in my life. Like, as great as all the people that I spend my time with are, we all have faults, and defensiveness is one of them for most of us. Hi,
yeah,
Erica, welcome. But yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But you
it's
like, you
definitely
got, yeah,
like that moment of like, no, they're wrong, they're wrong. I wasn't. They just took it the wrong way in the moment. They just took it the wrong way. We'll come back to it like once everybody's cooled off. And then for me, usually by the time that happens, I'm like, uh, oh
yeah, because it's like, why don't you like being wrong? And I think part of it is obviously it's personal, right? Because whatever it is that you're
yeah,
wrong about, it's personal. But there's also the added layer that like you could have potentially hurt your friend or person that you're
yes,
talking to by saying or doing something that you didn't intend to be that way. And as we, know, intent, it doesn't matter, it's the outcome, right? We talk about intent in so much as to discuss like their intent was this, however this was the outcome and this is why blah blah blah, but the intent in the end doesn't matter. So then if you up that still on a personal level, if Emily and I are out with 10 people and Emily
yeah.
tells me I'm wrong in front of 10 people, that feeling, that like hot embarrassment feeling, goes up through the roof. Like, because
Yeah,
there's 10 people around
it's
while
public
Emily,
shaming.
yes, while Emily is
Yeah.
like, you are wrong. And I'm like, first of all, you could have pulled me the fuck aside. You know what I mean? Like, you have this moment where
First
you're
of
like,
all, did we need to talk about this right now? Is
thank
like
you.
always the question. I'm like, yeah, the public shame part of it, and I think that for a lot of us, we understand that in terms of like when we've had it happen to us in some capacity. It's people we know, we're surrounded by, or maybe it's not even people we know. Um, but yeah, this is Lydia's a good point. So wrong equals being shunned from the group. Shunned from the group equals death in our caveman brains. Thus theorize evolutionary psychologist for what it worth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our like a lot of big emotions oftentimes can get like um, funneled down to like these core things that I
Mhm.
think have been with us as human beings and even pre humanity, I guess, for a very long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the public shame part of it I think is huge. But I think the thing that gets disconnected is because I know you're going to work your way there. Is that that's what people we know and that
Yes.
feeling that hot embarrassed feeling is like very very real and strong. It's like, oh, we know all these people, and I
Yeah.
think that that's part of the disconnect of the next step if you want to continue.
Yeah, because then if you take it up even still at personal level, you now are in a group of 30 or 50 people, but you don't know all of them. You only know a few of them, very well closely, and you are told you are wrong in that situation. It is even like it's even worse. And I think at that point you begin working towards not being wrong in the situation. Like, you cannot handle the criticism because you have nowhere to go. You have no space to like breathe. You don't know everybody. And it
Yeah,
feels very much like you are being attacked, even though your friend is not attacking you. They're like, no, Audrey, you said this incorrectly. What you really meant was this, or like what you should have said was da 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 da, because this is the year
yeah.
that blah blah blah. And I'd be like,
But even sometimes it's like when a friend says something about you and
Mhm,
you're like, actually that's no. Like if they're
mhm,
like, oh yeah, they're still with so and so, and you're like, actually you know I'm not with this person anymore, and you
mhm,
like clarify in front of everyone because you want everyone to know like this is my story, this is my
mhm.
life, and I need you to be on point. And it's still, in most of us, we're going to be defensive about like, well, I thought you didn't want everyone to know that, or I thought this other thing, where like I'm trying to spin it that I didn't do a bad thing. And it's like,
Mhm.
it's rarely is it like, oh, this is friendship ending, but it's like, no, I'm correcting you because in the moment, if I don't correct you, it's only going to make it worse.
Yeah, and it's like it gets So when you add being a public figure to that and
Yes.
just normal, basic human nature, you add being a public figure. Specifically, I'm going to talk about influencers because I have no idea what it's like to be an actual public figure. I'm not like, I don't even, I'm just a content creator. But the
We
point
just have
is,
it in the scheme of influencers because that's a very relatable
and
group
that's the world we
of
work
people.
in. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
so it's like, I think about like currently I don't really even have to worry about being wrong. Like I can't like I do, but I don't have to. My
Yeah.
channel size is not large enough to necessitate the pitchforks and the torches, right? Because like if
Yes.
I screw up 9 times out of 10, like if I wanted to be mediocre, I just don't have to say anything. I can just ignore it and I can be like I'm not saying anything.
The
Like
way
I'm just
you
going to
just
be
said, if I wanted to be mediocre.
I say nothing, right? I just sit there, I
Yeah.
say nothing, and it just kind of goes away for however long it goes away for. And we'll talk about that more later. But
Yeah.
as you become a larger and larger creator, being called out or being told that you're incorrect is like exponentially worse because you have that hot burn of shame in front of 50,000 people, in front of 60,000 people, in front of a million people. Like there's a
Exactly.
hot burning, like just the guilt is pouring over you. You are embarrassed. And I feel like a lot of people have a tendency, just generally as humans, to lash out, right? So you're
Hmm.
getting publicly told you were wrong about something, especially if you spent all this time and effort on creating a video and doing all of this stuff. Hey
Just saying
T.
hi.
But you spend all of this time and energy creating and filming this video and doing all of this stuff and doing all of this research, and then somebody comes and they're like, actually, you are incorrect that indigenous people feel like da 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 da, because as an indigenous person, I am correcting you on blah 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 blah. In that moment, you could take it and you could go, I should research. I should use this angry, upset, stressed out energy and research what they are saying.
Yes.
What happens too often, because they know a lot of people are going to see it, is a lot of people just going to go, well, I'm not even familiar with that, so I don't know what your problem is. But like,
And it's like because when you said guilt earlier, and I feel like there's a lot of people where there's not guilt involved, but this is coming from somebody who like has lived their whole life with guilt and is trying to break free of the like the restraining feelings that it creates. But it's like I think that there's a lot of people that when we were talking when you started talking about public shame, and then I was starting to think about it like as an influencer, and I'm like there have been so many like moments in life where I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm surrounded by people and I feel terrible because of something that happened. It's that public shame. But I sometimes it's hard to remember that like just because the people don't know you doesn't mean that feeling isn't there. Because I've
thank
also been
you.
surrounded by people that don't know me and like some shit happens or I'm just feeling incredibly awkward and I decided to go out to a party and I'm like, why did I do this? And then I do something and I'm like, I need to go home and
I
just
am
stay there
leaving.
forever. Um, like I am leaving right now. Nobody talk to me. Nobody look at me. Let me have an invisible cloak so I can leave. But
The cloak
I
of
think for me,
invisibility.
sometimes I forget about the like even as a influencer or creator, even if a lot of these people that are jumping on you don't know you,
Mhm.
like this shame is still there. And sometimes it's like fighting emotions where it's like they don't even fucking know me. They
Mhm.
don't know me. They didn't know my intent. They don't know where I'm from. They don't know my
They don't know my
history.
heart. They don't know my
They
spirit.
don't know exactly. And then it's like, and I also wasn't trying to do anything bad and blah, 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 this and that. And it's like, so it's like shame and defensiveness are like in this like a master mix, like this
Yeah.
huge, like just, and so I do think about that a lot where I'm like, and then also a lot of times you have friends and they're not going to be like a lot of people's friends wouldn't be like, hey, so I understand why you're ranting about this, and I'm here to listen. But if you want some feelings on, like, this is like the kindest way to be like, but if you want some opinion on like how I think you could respond to this, because I do see faults in what happened where
Mhm.
you could learn from this. Like, I'm here for that too, but a lot of people's friends don't actually do that because it's a lot
Fact.
of work. It's a lot of work, and even when the friendship is great and you don't feel the emotional labor of it, it's still a lot of work. And so I think that's the other part of it, is that they also have like, we all can have our own echo chambers, and it's just
Yeah.
that I think when you are a bigger creator and you have more power and more fame, and so your friendships, your relationships are even more, I think, tenuous, or can be more
Mhm.
tenuous, you're not going to have people being like, hey, hey, Emily, I understand that the way they said that was kind of rude, but also you insulted the indigenous population of a country that you don't live in, and maybe you should
Maybe
look
fix
into
it.
this. Yeah.
Just maybe do a
And
modicum of research to like apologize for sticking your foot in some shit that you shouldn't have been, right? Like
yeah,
he was saying, I think a lot of these influencers worry about ego more than ethics. It really isn't that difficult to simply not speak about things where you don't have the education or admit you need education. And that's where the other thing comes in, because I really feel like a lot of people get stuck, especially in the beauty sphere. Like I can't really speak to a lot of the other spheres, but I think a lot of people get stuck on becoming an expert at something, right? Because people will ask me for recommendations on a foundation for this, recommendations on a lip color, recommendation, and at some point, I think the larger you get, the more that can go to your head, especially if you don't have other creator friends, like true creator friends. I'm not talking about
hmm,
bullshit ass acquaintances. I'm talking about true creator
no,
friends who you like give passwords to use each other's equipment. You know what I mean? Like things like that.
exactly. When
Like
we're
people
like,
with
let's just share this software. Nobody needs
yeah,
to
let's
know.
like do
Like,
this. Like you're who you will go to and be like, listen, I'm upset about this. What do I do? How do I like people that you can help you with like negotiating things, real friends. And I have to stress that
yeah,
because I think a lot of times we see in on YouTube people who I really would classify as acquaintances now saying that they're no longer friends
yes,
because I can't just drop my friends like that. Let me just tell you, I cannot just drop
no,
my friends just because something shitty happened or they made a mistake. That's not who I am. I cannot do that. Like it doesn't work for me, especially if I actually know them. And so I hate that
yeah,
people have these calls. But I think once you start getting up there, you don't have these friends. You're letting your ego rule. You've been an expert for so long that for
yeah.
anyone to correct you, it's just like, excuse me? Did you just try to correct me? I'm Audra. I am the dark
You are
goddess
the
of
big.
complexion products, bitch. You don't get to tell me. You don't get to
Yes,
tell me how a foundation. I tell you how foundation works. You do not tell me. I am the one. It is me. How dare you, plebeian? And so you like run into this weird situation where you're like, you got like your head so far up your own ass
yeah.
like you literally didn't even think about the fact that one, like I'm not an expert. I don't like beauty and makeup is not
I'm a
my job.
hobbyist. Like,
Like
it
yeah.
makes me some money, but it's a hobby. Do I
Mhm.
spend money like it's my job? Yes. We all know that. We just don't talk about it,
Yeah, like
okay?
this isn't like how like this isn't like my 9 to 5. Like I don't spend all day applying makeup to people. I don't spend all day helping people find skincare. Like that's what not what I do.
Yeah.
So what I feel like the larger a creator gets, the harder it gets to be wrong because of ego, but also the other
Aisha.
side of it
Perfection right there. Okay, that's
but like also it's not even just ego, it's also that like there is a level to where your own subscribers don't care that you're wrong. We've seen this with multiple creators where they will be
yes.
wrong and then they will apologize and then you have a 50-50 split. You have 50 people who are like, thank goodness you apologize, we're so glad. And then you have this other 50% who are like, you didn't have to apologize for anything, you didn't do anything wrong. Like those people.
And and the funniest part is that a lot of people don't actually apologize. And
Correct.
they still have people saying, you didn't even have to apologize. You did nothing wrong. they're just
Hmm.
way too sensitive. The one person I would call out for this that is the perfect example is Jebediah Stankfish. Like,
Mm.
that is the prime example of somebody who apologized multiple times and had, in my opinion, millions of people being like, you didn't do anything wrong.
Everybody's so
You didn't do anything
sensitive.
wrong.
So
Like,
sensitive.
nobody can take a joke anymore. Everyone's so
Perfect.
politically correct and
Dark
sensitive.
humor.
And it's like, but you're right. Whether it's a small group or a big group, like, there are so many people that will just be like, you didn't have to apologize. And that actually is one of the most like frustrating comments to ever see. Not, I
Hmm.
mean, like, to even to get it as a creator, because I don't always know how to respond to that. Because I've had situations where I've messed up.
Thank
We've
you.
been in a situation where we had to deal with stuff, and and there was definitely comments about like, well, you don't have to apologize. And it's like, yes,
Yes, I
but
do.
I
Yes, I
do. And I
do.
don't want you saying I don't need to do this thing because you're talking over whoever I hurt, whatever group of people I hurt. And so I really, but creators obviously, especially once you're larger, like, you can't fight back that.
Hmm.
You, and so it can get into your head where you're like, okay, well, I did, like, I did it, I apologized, whatever. But then, like, the longer you sit in it and the more people that are like, but no, you didn't have to apologize, I feel like it, like, undoes all of the work. Even if you did do the work, it, like, undoes it all. It unravels the sweater.
And you also have the added bonus for a lot of people of gaining subscribers through this situation. So, like, not only do you not lose when you fuck up, like you screw up, but so you don't lose. A lot of people just don't lose, they gain. So it's like they
Yeah.
gained with their apology, and take apology how you will, because we'll talk about that in some more detail a little bit. But like, not only do you gain from saying that you're sorry or whatever, but like you also have this huge crew of people, your stance, are like, we're so glad that, like, it doesn't even matter. All these people are snowflakes. They don't understand our dark humor. It's fine. You don't need to apologize. And you keep getting more and more of those people. And you also get comments of people being like, I subscribed because I didn't think you need to apologize for shit. So it does get to a level
Yeah.
where it gets harder and harder for you to have some sense and realize that you don't need to be paying attention to all the people who are like, you didn't need to apologize. What you really need to do is go look at the people who tell you, thank you for apologizing. Those are the comments you should look at. Like, I would urge any creator to, like, stop looking at all the people who are telling you that you didn't need to
Yes.
apologize and really start looking at the people who told you, like, thank you. Because a lot of times when they say thank you, they're also adding something to it. Like, thank you for
Yes.
apologizing for this. My brother is disabled, and I was really upset that I was going to have to stop watching you because I thought that you were making fun of someone in my family who I love dearly. And it's good to know that you're not like that. So you're finding out more and more about your subscribers and understanding, like, your base and who's there for you and who wants you to succeed and actually do well.
Yes.
Don't listen to these people over here who think you don't have to do anything, because those people will never hold you accountable. Not one time will they ever hold you accountable.
and and in this whole topic of like, you can gain when you have these situations. Here's the problem: you're gaining if you did something that was racist. You're gaining
Hmm.
racist in your
Hmm.
audience. If you did something that was defending homophobia or that was making fun of a disability, the people that are coming to your channel, that's toxic. You are opening the door to a toxic subscriber base. And I've seen channels evolve and turn into like their audience base just being a group of people where I'm like, what happened? But then, as we've talked about this, it's like you've invited these people. You invited in the vampires, and not the
Hmm.
cool vampires, not the ones that we all want to like be or
Thank you.
maybe are.
I mean, is
You've
Akasha a cool
invited.
vampire? She did want to destroy the earth, and I still look up to her.
I Yeah, but like you open the door to all these people who are actually the last group of people you should be listening to. Whereas,
Yeah.
like you said, Audra, when you look at the people that take the time to write a comment that are like, thank you for that apology, and then they go into something about it, like, no one has to say that. No
Thank you.
one has to take the time to do that. And people do. And some of them are strangers, and some of them are long time, like, followers of yours that would not, they don't necessarily feel like a stranger to your channel. And
Yeah.
people take all this time and energy and then they just like get ignored, because T put it really well, where like that bad behavior is incentivized. It's
Yes.
incentivized because you get like, if there's, especially if you're like, let's say if you're based in LA and there's like the quote cool kids, all of the pieces of
It's the
shit who have
season.
done this, like, then they see somebody else do that and they're like,
And I will
like,
say that
I
that's
feel like that's how it
slowing
works.
down, like some of the
Yeah,
incentives,
that's
like
true.
some of it's actually finally starting to slow down because
Yeah.
there was a time where like creating negative situations and drama and refusing to say wrong, say you're that you were wrong, really was beneficial. Like you could just explode. Like look at Gabriel Zamora. Is that the last name? I
Yeah.
don't know. But look at what happened with them. Like nobody even was checking for them, and we're still not. But moving on. That wasn't nice. But we're gonna like I don't know
I
what's happening.
never was. I never was. I never
But their
was. Just
content
gonna say.
exploded after that whole
Yeah.
mess, and then
But
like
then what
but
do they
now
do
we're
with
seeing.
it? Nothing. Okay.
I know we said we were gonna do that. I apologize. I broke my own damn laws. Also, I do have to admit something.
Hmm.
I know that I have spent a lifetime talking shit about spicy water. I know I have been like spicy water. Fuck spicy water. That's disgusting. Who drinks spicy water? What's wrong with you? And now, it is. It is my. Listen, I love Topo Chico. Okay, I love it. It's so good. It's
Welcome to the
Butterfly.
dark side, bitch.
But it's the only one, I swear. It's the only one. I swear it to you. I swear it. This is the only one I'm gonna have. This is the only one.
Also,
I will
for
not have any
anyone
more
that
spicy
doesn't
water.
know, spicy water is seltzer or bubbly water or club soda or Topo Chico if you're ultra and fancy. Um, it is delicious
It's so
though.
good. I thought we could use like a little comedic
A
relief
palate
drink.
cleanser. Oh my
I
god. Yes. Yes. But
like how Miranda comes in.
uh,
Think carbonated water? Yes. Spicy water.
pops, baby. Yes.
Well,
Oh, but I also think like wait. Of course, I'm distracted again. At least Audra on the floor and wearing glasses for the teacher apology moment, looking stunning in full face and everything. So
that
balance.
actually leads into the point after Emily
I
does that.
also love sparkling water because that's why I was like, "Welcome to the dark side" because it's my favorite. I adore it.
Oh my God, you call it spicy water. I do it spicy.
No hoodie in Texas in May, June.
Yeah,
Okay,
listen,
no, that's
I need you to
no.
understand that I am currently sweating now.
Trendsetter. Trendsetter, you are. Um,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, make your point.
no, I was just, I mean, I think we kind of, yes, yes, thank you, Isabel. Isabel doing the good work. I think we kind of talked about this, but like, I do think that it's also, it's not just like the public shaming, but it's also that once you're wrong in public and you like admit that you're wrong, it's almost in also inviting in more attacks because people look at other behaviors you've done, they look at all of this, and so it's like I think a lot of these bigger influencers are just like, well, if I just never open the door, like if I never admit to it or whatever, if I
And
pretend it didn't happen, then it's like the only way to defend against that, I guess, according to what they think.
But it could feel also like once you admit you're wrong, then you're not trustworthy. And it's like, no, it's the opposite, actually. Like, if you telling me that
Yes.
you were incorrect about something is fine. Like, it's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. But like, where T was talking about, because this is what I actually think is the most important part of why it's so hard to be wrong. Because T was saying, at least Audra was sitting on the floor and wearing glasses for this YouTube apology moment. This is the big one.
Mm-hmm.
As an influencer, not me myself, but just influencers in general, um, there is a whole crew of people sitting around dissecting your apology. And
Yes.
to the point where apologize, like people will make fun of notes app, but I'm actually for it. I am for a notes app apology because I myself do not, I am strange and unusual, but I myself do not want to deal with trying to film an apology and having it dissected every little step of the way. Having somebody look at my body language and like they don't know me, that like, by the way, let me just say this again. Please stop watching those body language channels. They're bullshit. And I just say this because like you can't know someone's body language unless you've like you have to be watching them for a long
Yeah.
period of time to understand their gestures. And you also have to interview them. Side note, you have to interview them personally to know like there's because people you'll tell them like ask me like I'm going to ask you this question, I want you to lie, and then like you're when you lie you're going to give all these things, so please stop watching those channels because they're
Yeah.
really fucked up.
Well, and also to just clarify, it's not just like watch you for a long time because a lot of people are like, well, I've watched all these creators for years. It's personal interaction. It's like you said, interviewing. It's all of that. And I thought it was
Yeah.
interesting. I scroll back up to find this comment because this was from way earlier in the chat where Isabel had said, there's this peculiar phenomenon whereby if an influencer makes a sad face on camera and talks about their own feelings, people will think they've apologized. And that kind of
Hmm.
goes with the whole body language conversation
Hmm.
because I feel like there's these two extremes where it's like you make the sad face and you say some words and everyone's like, oh, you did all the good work you needed to do. And then there's the other group of people that are these language analysts that are just like, whether or not it was sincere to anyone else, they're attacking it and like trying to break it down moment by moment.
And I love
Yeah.
that. Oh, because like that's been such a thing for so long. And like I'm like, people look where the fuck they look, where whatever side of their brain they're accessing. Because like I know that there's this whole right brain, left brain thing that people keep trying to do, but I'm like, yeah, that doesn't mean that that's where all the shit is, though. Like, we can say all that, like,
Yeah.
there's huge parts of the brains we really have no idea how it works. And you add
Thank you.
neurodivergency in there,
Thank you.
you don't know where that memory or where that information is stored for that person and where they're accessing it
Yeah.
from. Like, we can generalize, but we don't like do a lot of studies on live brains for obvious reasons. So, like, so it just, it's very, when you know that you're going to sit in front of the camera and you're going to do an apology, how would you feel knowing that like, okay, well, can I or can I not cry? Like, should I like I'm crying but I have to cut this out because if I'm seen crying then it looks like I feel sorry for myself and not for the other people, but if I don't cry then it looks like I don't give a fuck. If I'm not wearing the hoodie it looks like I'm not sad enough. Do I put on makeup or do I get in trouble for having a full beat? But if I take off the
Do I
makeup it
do
looks
the
like
like
I'm
no makeup, like, and then I'm gonna get in trouble because then people are gonna like start noticing, like, oh, they look like their natural face, but I can see the concealer settling in the line underneath their eye, like. But you're like, I just didn't want to look like hot trash in a video, like.
yeah, like where do I sit? Do I sit on the floor? Do I do this? How do I address it? Do I sit in a different location? Um, see, thank you. This is why I love science.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes. There's so
because
much
like
about the when you said like that the amount of the brain we just don't fucking know. Like, yes, that's the yeah,
because
yeah,
think about this. Think of like, and I fell into it too. Think about how many of us, when we watched D'Angelo Wallace talking about Tati and like how he broke down how many seconds that she left up of her crying, like how much of her crying that she left up, and how that did have an effect on how we felt about her apology in general, right? Like we already kind
yeah,
of didn't like it anyway, but like when that was brought to light, there was a part of us as the group, the collective, that was like, yeah, that was a long time to let yourself cry. There's a
Yeah.
level where it's like you can't, what is the point? Like there becomes no benefit to a being wrong and apologizing. At some point, we as people who watch, like I'm a person too, subscribers, we become the very reason that influencers don't want to apologize. Why
Yeah.
bother? If I apologize, what's going to happen is just like this avalanche of bullshit that I don't want to deal with. I don't want to make this video because if I make it, if I take too long to make it, it's like, oh, it was produced. Did you see the lighting? Did you see this? They sat this way.
Yeah.
They were holding their dog. They did this. And you literally, like, what are you supposed, like, there comes a point where, like, what do I have to do for y'all
But
to love
I
it?
will say I agree with T. I'm
Yes.
conflicted because I do think that because
No, we cannot.
like D'Angelo called something out in particular.
Mm-hmm.
I was already like there was way too much crying in this, but there was something about the actual like quantification with numbers where I was like,
That's a lot of
oh,
crying. That was a lot of
this
crying
makes me
for
feel
me,
more
because I'm not an
gross,
emotional person. I don't.
more good. But
And
like
no,
I
we
do
can't
think,
dismiss it. No,
yeah,
go ahead.
but I think that it also feeds into this issue where like, and I think this is kind of like an offshoot of this topic, but it made me think of like the like when you're like, you know what, I'm not going to apologize, I'm not going to make a big deal about being wrong, because that's what it feels like. I'm not going to make a big deal about being wrong. And but then that feeds into that issue that we've talked about where it's the undercurrent, the people that are watching and
Yes.
tallying and saying you did do this, and when people tried to correct you, you pushed back. You did do this. When people tried to correct you, you refused to listen. You did do this, you did do this. So when something even slightly bigger starts happening, that's when then the attacks come in again. Like that's where it like it's like it's a very big catch 22. Hi.
He's in the
It's like a
house.
Yes. It's like such a big catch 22 because I we've seen that with creators where it's like when they don't deal with something head on when it happens, then as they get bigger and bigger and bigger and then something else happens, then all this other shit comes out. And so I'm still kind of in this like I like that sexy librarian. So like I
That's so
still have
funny.
this like give and take of like okay, but like I get these psychological reasons why we're talking about like why apologies are probably a bad idea in general with influencers, but yeah, but I also think that like going back to kind of like body language is what makes another good point. I think there's a difference between trying to parse someone's body language to like get to glean their authenticity versus parsing their editing choices with like how they make us feel, because that is a difference. Like the way you present your body, I do think a lot of the body language is just BS. But then it's like, okay, but then you also edited this to make us
Yeah, so
feel
you edited,
even more
which is why I'm like,
things.
let people do the notes app. Like I swear, let people, because like let people write the words that they want to say, and it's up to you whether you believe them or not. But let them write the words that they want to say so that they can actually just say what they want to say. A good percentage, a good 99% of influencers with apologies are writing this themselves. They don't have people, like we're not all in the
Yeah,
1% that have PR teams. No, they're writing this shit themselves. They're asking their friends and their family to like see if this looks okay. They're working with their friends and their family to like make
yeah,
sure that they're correcting the harm that they have done. So like let people just write it out, because this idea of someone like I could not imagine having to sit in front of a camera and apologize.
yeah.
Like I don't
No.
know how that video would go, and also like I don't like, here's what happens. If something is wrong and it's like maybe it's something I don't necessarily care about or I don't really know, like I end up being very deadpan about it. I'm like, I'm really sorry that like I did this thing, and like I really don't understand what I did
Because
wrong right
again,
now because I have to
also
apologize immediately.
neurodivergency
And like
is there
that's
too. Like
but you
yeah.
know how I feel about that.
But
So
actually that goes in, so this next point I think is interesting. So because we sometimes we take notes and have like bullet points to talk about.
yeah.
But like The idea of change behavior, I think, also goes into weird, um, this weird area of like, I think like I kind of disagree with to some degree of with like your take on it, but I am also thinking in like more specific examples like of the bigger issue things versus smaller things. So I don't know if you wanted to go in to like your also I just thought this was
I
interesting.
love that because my body language
Yeah.
is not always going to translate as I am sorry. I'm going to tell you
Yes,
that right now. Like if
exactly.
I'm like a lot of times my body language when I am trying to apologize is tense and defensive, mostly because I'm like they're not going to accept my apology, and if they do, I have to be prepared to not be upset that they don't. So my language
Exactly.
is not going to be one of like I'm so sorry. It's not going to be hunch. It's not going to be that. I'm going to be like kind of petulant, where I'm like, ugh. But
And even for me, sometimes as somebody that sometimes can be, I am a crier, and I have to like. There are definitely times where like I have to like if I've had a hard if I know I'm going to have a hard conversation with a friend or something like that, where like I know I fucked up and we're talking through it. I have to like work on like it's not the time to just cry even though I feel it and I'm not trying to use it to manipulate the person. It's just the
mm,
way I let out a lot of emotion. But like,
yes.
so that's also me manipulating my body, like body language or behaviors in an apology. So I think that it's interesting to think about that, where it's like there is always manipulation happening when you're a public figure being forced or put into a position to apologize.
So here is the thing. When we say this, the best form of an apology is change behavior. The problem with being a social media or like just social media person, a public figure in social media, is that the behavior may not change. Like outwardly, you're going to see that they have quote unquote changed. We've seen this with many creators.
Yeah.
They're going to give the outward appearance that they have grown, that they have changed, and but they really are who they've always been. Nothing has changed. But then you have
Yeah.
creators who may make mistakes, and for many it seems like the same mistake, but they don't realize how much is changing behind the scenes because you don't fucking know them, right? So you don't
Yeah.
know them, you don't know who they know, you don't know who they talk to, so you have zero inclination to understand that what you see as the same mistake, people who know them are like they like there are things that are being handled differently behind the scenes, and you like because you're friends with them you can't come out and defend somebody and go you'll have zero idea how this is happening like blah blah because like you're not going to betray somebody's confidence and tell all of
Yeah.
that stuff, right? So when we keep saying that, like that's fine in real life, like IRL with your friends, that makes sense. When it comes to
Yeah.
public figures, it doesn't, because people can pretend all day long that they have changed. It will eventually come out that they didn't. A lot of times it does. But the problem is they're going to put on the outward appearance of like, my behavior has changed. And then eventually they like fall into the old trap. But the problem is in their whole like I've changed tour, they've gained subscribers while
That's
being
true.
changed, right?
Yeah.
And so we really have to start thinking about like, do I personally like this person enough to want to forgive them? Even if it's not your
Yes.
apology to accept, you don't have to go on and say, like, I accept it. You just have to go, for me, do I accept that this person is sorry? Do I actually think that they're sorry? From what I know of their social interactions and how they behave online, do I think that they actually mean this? And if I do, then I'm going to forgive them and I'm going to move forward. And if I don't, I'm not going to, and I'm not going to have to. And like, go to your Reddit threads and trash or hype up the people you want to. Because I'm not going to be a dick about it. I
Yeah.
get it. Here's the thing, I'd rather you do it there than come to my channel and tell me how much you hate me. Like, thank you. Just go somewhere
Yeah.
else.
No.
Tell me how much you think I'm bad at
That's
makeup,
like
I'm
that's why you
ugly,
should
I'm
never
chubby. Like, do
this
all
is
that
why you
elsewhere.
should never Google your name, never Google your social media handle, just don't do it. But the reason why like the change behavior thing is so first of all, I agree that like so there are people that are out there that like theoretically have changed. I was never like I might have watched them, I might have been subscribed, but then there was a like I was already kind of disconnecting from them, and
Mhm.
then like something happened, and then I was like, I'm good, I'm done, and I actually don't care if you change because I was already disconnected beyond the offensive thing you did. So
Mhm.
like it doesn't actually matter to me. I don't care if you've come around and you've learned and you're better and whatever because I've already like lost my interest in you. But I think the thing is that I think it's tricky when it's like when you're like, well, I'm their friend and I see that they're working on it. And I think it's more of the big issues. Like
Mhm.
if you are doing things, if you are like let's say you are constantly doing something that is homophobic and you are working on it, but you are still every couple of months doing something that is actively harming LGBTQIA queer people. I don't care what's happening behind the scenes because for me, you either need somebody in your life that's telling you, hey, maybe you don't talk about that. Maybe
Yeah.
you work on it and don't publicly talk about these topics until like check back in.
Yeah.
Or it's that I'm like, like if you don't have people in your life to say that, it's just like I don't particularly care about your progress report if you're still failing. Like, I get that you're working your way through it, but you're still actively harming people. And yes, it might not be as bad as it was what you said 6 months or a year ago, but it's still coming into a space and putting harm towards people. And so I think that it's hard because I do think there are definitely lots of examples where we're manipulated.
Hi,
Hello.
Davina. I
Hello,
have never
Davina
like,
Deandra.
well, y'all, like,
Welcome. We
like,
got
I'm
some
literally
indie
like,
loves
this
in
is
the house.
the funny part about this is I literally just got like two new small magnetic palettes because I'm
Ooh.
preparing to film my Shiny Pretties like series with
Yay!
like my dragon horde and like I
They are restocking in June, and I got my eye
oh
on you,
no,
Davina.
don't say it. Don't say it. I'm gonna lose everything. I'm gonna lose all my money.
Oh, there's so many brands that I have on, but yes, I know that there's something happening in June. I think it's June 10th. So I got my eye on you. That's all I'm gonna say. Yay! We're so happy to have you.
I
Welcome.
know.
Um,
Hi. And
yes.
yeah, so
So,
like
but yeah,
I do think that like there
that
does
was
need
my
to
like
be
little like
no, and I agree with you to an extent. I because again, I always think that like the way that I look at it is because of I guess I'm a moderator for my friends and I'm down to earth. Like that's the Taurus in me that actually does like when I am down for you, when you are my friend, when I am going like I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to let you go. And the one of the hardest things in the world for me to do is to like see how nasty people are to any of my friends on any of these Reddit
yeah,
threads. It is like it kind of physically jerks me back when I see the things that people say
yeah,
because it's like, wow, you don't even know them and you're so mean. Like you're so mean to somebody you don't know. And
yeah,
it's just like if people knew how much any one person is like consistently working with somebody to help them with something, like you may see somebody be like, "Ugh, every month they're in some bullshit." Okay, but like here's the thing, it switched from every month to every 3 months. So like that is an improvement. Like I know that you're like sitting there being like, no, fuck them. I'm like, no, but like they've improved because they've like been doing something behind the scenes to help them stop like getting out there, right? And then they move from every 3 months to every 6 months. You're like, okay, and like there's still some people who are like, see, I can't trust them because they suck. Like da 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 da. I'm like, well, they have been improving, and I think that's the thing is people want to see this like immediate improvement. They want to see that like every single time you're fucking on point. But we're human beings, we're gonna fuck up. Period.
yeah.
Period.
That's.
So like
I think
we have
it's
to
yeah.
keep that
Go
in
ahead.
mind that like it's not gonna happen over it could be a year, it could be 2 years for this person to finally get where they got with all the behind scenes shit they've done, all of their friendships to like get where they're not constantly like in drama or fucking shit up. We have to think about that sometimes because like in our real life friendships, that happens with us too. Like there are things where it's going to take me a little bit
Yeah.
and like it's been over a year and I've just recently finally admitted to Emily, like, listen, so here's the thing. I know you tell me this thing that I could use to do this that makes my life easier, but it's new and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
But okay,
I'm going to
but
tell you I
here's
don't
what
want to
I'm
do
gonna
it because I don't know how to do it and I don't want to look stupid and because
but
I
you're
don't want to
not
look stupid.
publicly but Audra, you are not publicly on these live streams being like, fuck you, I don't want that. Like you're not doing that publicly.
Yeah, but I'm just
Like,
saying, like,
but the reason
as
why
a
I wanted to talk about this is that the thing is that for people that are influencers or on social media or public in that way, I get what you're saying about progress, but I also, all of the things that we've talked about are still valid because every
yeah,
time they fuck up, they bring in the toxic people. They get attention for the thing. So what I'm saying is that I think it becomes harder and harder to get that progress because when you try to change your behavior, the audience that you pulled in is like,
yeah,
but you were a badass. Why are you changing now? So that's why it's like sometimes I just think that sometimes people need to learn what they should and shouldn't talk about. And I'm not saying like
yes.
you don't get freedom of speech, but I think that if you know that like there are just areas like I have learned so much about about the trans community over the last
Hmm.
year on, and it's not just from Thorn, but Thorn, who is somebody that's in this community, is just like the kindest soul about just like sharing perspectives, putting things into words that like I just, and it's not like a direct conversation to me. It's sometimes it's Instagram or Twitter or like other things. But I also like I try to remind myself like I still don't know enough to be talking about it. I know that there are things where I'm just like, yeah, silence is golden. Like even when I'm like I want to talk about everything because I have an opinion about everything, I realize that it's a public forum and what I put out there, I'm responsible for. And so if I know
Excuse
that
me.
like I have issues with these things or I could slip up or like, you know what? I want to have a beverage tonight. I want to imbibe in a little something. I'm going to avoid this topic because who knows? Like,
But
I
here's the
think that there is
thing.
that balance.
The silence is
Yeah.
golden. Yes. So in this, we also need to be reminded that, like, for instance, in this Oprah situation that's going on,
Mm-hmm.
people need to stop having calls for everybody. Like every time someone says that they're not going to work with them, please stop having calls for every creator who's ever worked with the brand. There is a level to that that is one invasive, it's rude. Um,
Yeah.
let people do things on their time because what I keep seeing happen is every time a brand does something screwy, right? If any brand does something racist or phobic or whatever it is, as soon as one person says like I'm not gonna do this, all of a sudden instead of people just being like good on you, thank you for the information, blah blah blah, what happens is eventually people start showing up in the comments being like, wonder if so and so is gonna say something, it's time for so and so, clock is ticking, and it's like
And
y'all,
they tag them, they at them. They're like they're in their
yes,
own comments, not even just on like a post about, but they go to their
yes,
their Instagram profile and they posted 5 days ago before the shit even happened or 3 days ago. And they're like, oh, what are your thoughts about Ofra? And it's like, I think T puts it perfectly. I think that content creators, anyone that's like a person of the internet, should never feel expected or obligated to speak about some things. Just
especially if you have ties to
because
the company. Like you do not, you don't.
yeah,
If you have any contract obligations, if you are doing something, don't feel obligated. Like this is to all creators. Don't feel like you have to come out and say something immediately. Take your time, talk to the company, figure out what you need to do to like handle business behind the scenes so that you can figure out what you can and cannot say and how
Yes.
you're going to like dissolve or like whatever you're going to do for this relationship before you have to come out to the public and tell the public things. Because I feel like if you
And
expect
because we
people to
don't
do
know
things right,
contracts.
yeah,
And like we don't know, like I still think about the Jackie Ina thing with Two Faced, where it was just
yeah,
like expecting like and there's a whole level of racism with that, where it's like you're expecting these things, but it's like um it's just like we didn't know contractually what the obligations are. And so the same thing is true with Ofra. There are smaller creators where I'm like, cool, I'm glad they said something. But there are bigger creators, like I'll say in particular, Lauren May Beauty. I was waiting to see what she was going to say, but I also know she has been paid by this company. And so
yes,
I can't expect something to come out in 12 hours, 24 hours, because you're probably looking at contracts, talking things over, and figuring out how the fuck I can say what I need to say. Um, and so I think that that's really hard. And that's one of those things that, like you're always going to be criticized, so you might as well take the time to figure out, okay, so am I legally good? Cool, great, then I'm going to do what I want. Okay, now how do I want to say this? What do I
yes.
actually want to put? And like, because people notice these things. Like, I'm personally noticing things where I'm like, oh, certain creators are referencing the never mind. I'm not going to say the words because that probably get us demonetized. But like
Facts.
certain people are not using keywords related to the hand signal, and certain creators are using those words to say what they agree or don't, don't stand
Yeah,
for, or not agree with. And I'm personally noticing that because I think that's a distinction that's important for me and who I feel comfortable supporting. But
yeah,
yeah, I would just rather people have this space, and I think that everyone feels this pressure to like respond because you do have people adding you, tagging you
thank you.
constantly. And I just think that like we can all wait in bated breath, but that's why we have our internet communities. You don't have to go tag the people. Like that's why I
Yes,
have the like just like there are people that I can like talk to, text with, get on like, whatever Twitter or Discords or things like that where I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? But I'm not publicly
yeah.
being like, what is going on, Lord May Beauty? I need to know what you're thinking. Like, no, I gave him space.
Thank you. And that's, I feel like a good 80% of bad responses to any situation
Are
is
too
literally
fast.
because people won't leave them alone. Like as soon as the information comes out, people are adding them and then they feel like they have to say something. And we forget like some of these relationships are personal. Like some of them are
Yeah.
personal, especially if you're working with, like, for instance, working with indie brands. You're not like, I'm not, if Davina contacts me for anything, it's Davina. It's not like Davina's people. It's not like this whole
Yeah.
PR team. It's not this brand. It's Davina. That changes the relationship there. It's not me. Like, so if, if obviously they had, like, no, but like if they did something, my reaction is going to be different because this is a personal and business react like relationship. It's not just
Yeah.
business when you're working with some companies because you're literally working with the person who makes the shit. So you can't expect me to come out when like an indie brand that I've worked with or have a code with, you cannot expect me the second that something goes wrong to
Hey,
just be like,
Tina.
"Hey Tina," to just be like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah." Like chances are if I do that, I'm going to tell you my response is not going to be right. Like if I come out
Yeah.
immediately, my response is going to be more of the personal connection response than of me having sat down, talked to them, been like, listen, we've got to work this shit out. I don't know what the fuck happened here. Why did you do this thing? Like I know that
Yeah.
it's you. What are we going to do to fix this? I can't continue to support you because of XYZ. How do we handle this moving forward? And they could very well be like, listen, let us like clean up this mess. Our partnership is not dissolved. What we're going to do is like fix this, this, and this. For now, we can disable your code, and do blah, blah, blah. And like we are working together behind the scenes. And then I come out 3 days later after the situation, have a conversation. Sometimes 2 days later, have a conversation that is agreed upon, that we both know, like me and the brand are aware
Yeah.
that I'm going to say this. Because you still have that relationship as well. So me
Yeah.
and the brand
And
are aware that I'm
there's
gonna say I'm no longer affiliated with them. And they know that because they're also removing my information from the site. And we work together to
yeah.
make this happen. And I, instead of me like immediately, because listen, I know how I am with personal connections. I'm going to immediately come out stupidly in defense of the brand, regardless of what's happened, just because of the fact that I know the people. That's the problem is
Yeah.
when you know people, it changes it. So it's like, I would much rather people allow people to like have their conversations, sit back, fix things, and like be like, what do we do? How do I handle this? Like, da 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 da. You can't just expect people to come out immediately, like within 3 seconds of the story breaking on Twitter. Like, you can't expect
Yeah.
everybody to have a like.
But it's also just a good reminder because like I know for me, I currently have an affiliate with Drench, but I don't have other affiliates. I would love more. Just saying, especially all these indie brands that I shop from. Just saying. But I've seen shit happen to indie, like I've seen indie brands that I love do things. And because I love them, even though I'm a very critical consumer, and I'm definitely one of those people where I'm like, I'll criticize the shit out of you, I might still buy from you. Or
Yeah.
I might buy from you in 6 months or a year or whatever. Or like it's just a fun way to roast because roasting is fun. But there have been times where I have like gotten personal and defended a brand. And then I'm like, actually, it doesn't matter that that was that one brand. It's not specifically Davina, but because it's a name that's easy. It's like, actually, it doesn't matter that I like Davina Shadows and I'm supporting a person and they're creative and whatever. That was fucked up. Like, this is not specifically about Davina, but like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter
Because they're
if I
here, we
like
can talk
JD
about it.
Glow. It doesn't matter if I like, whatever. Like that specific situation was fucked. And like, I need to remember that I also have a bias just as a consumer, just as
Thank
a
you.
customer. And so I think that like, it's like this balance, counterbalance, because like, there are definitely times where I'm like, I could jump on and be like, yeah, exactly. And T put it really well. Like I've roasted and even taken extended breaks from brands, then continued to support in the long game. Same thing. Like there have been indie brands where I was like, oh, I don't feel right at the moment, but like I give them time and maybe it's me forgetting, maybe it's whatever, but then I move on. Yes, Davida, adore you, but like you're just here. It's an easy name. But like
Well,
there are so many brands where I'm like,
I know we're
that
like
was kind of like
eviscerated.
an awkward move. Like I'll call out JD Glow. A brand I don't support is Give Me Glow. They were in the comments of Give Me Glow when all that was going down, supporting them, and I was kind of like, hey, get out of here, leave it
Yeah.
alone, don't fucking, like, please don't ruin it for me, okay? Like,
Yeah, and like that's the thing, like T was saying, like, here's the thing, especially as a dark-skinned person, I'm gonna tell y'all, let me be honest. I can't afford to not like as many brands as people without color can. I can't afford it.
yeah,
Like, there's not necessarily a lot for me. Now, when it comes to eyeshadows, like complexion products, blush, all that, like that's gonna be different. But when it comes to eyeshadows, I have so many shiny pretties. It's unreal. And like when I started kind of going through it, I was like, oh my God, everybody's gonna think I'm a monster. But I'm a Taurus and a dragon, so like it's fine. And I'm a
we
drag
all
like
love
I have my
shiny
dragon board.
pretties.
But
Yeah,
like I have to realize that like I don't have the ability to be as strongly standing, I can sometimes stand 5 toes deep, maybe 7, but y'all got to forgive me when I dig them toes up out the ground because listen, I don't have a shit ton of complexion product options. Oh my gosh, Tiandra, thank
welcome.
you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. So guess what? Tiandra, now that you've joined, go back if you want to, not like this second, but you'll find on our post that you can see the chat with me and Emily and Teresa. So yeah.
That was a good one. I was like an hour and a half late. It was still a good chat.
Brandy,
Yes,
you were so right.
everything I
Davina's
said about
fine.
Davina was
Davina's fine.
not was not real. Like
I
it
have
was
a
an
whole like
example, but it's not
too
real.
much shiny pretties from
But there
Toledo.
are a ton of indie brands that like I could say that about, where like I have a moment where I'm like, I feel uncomfortable. And then it's like, you just kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and I
That's,
think it does, but I think the only reason it does is because of the immediacy of the internet. Because if you
yeah.
go back before like the internet was the way it is today, because I am obviously I was made from the earth. That's what we're going to leave it at. Like I came up out of the earth and
That's
here I
all we need to
be.
know. That's all.
But
That's all.
I feel like there was a time when a situation would happen, and because of the time link, like the time frame that it took to get around to everybody that the situation had happened, they actually had time to like craft a response. So it did normally take 3 or 4
Yes.
days for them to actually respond. So what's happening now is literally shit breaks at 9 a.m. and people are expecting a response by 10. And it's like, wait, stay, you really want them to respond in an hour. Like
Like,
you want somebody to tell you in an hour
also
like what's happened
different
and like
time zones. Some people are not
and
awake. They don't even know
all
what's
the
happened.
information may not be out. Sometimes it's conjecture, sometimes it's lie, like sometimes it's outright lies, sometimes it's bullshit. We have to actually allow people the opportunity to look up stuff, find out what's going on, and like look because like
Yeah.
I'm a person by myself, right? Like I am a human being. I don't have a team of like I don't have a PR team. I don't have any of that shit. So here's what's happening. If a brand that I have touted, like let's say I'm like touting, adept from like the heavens. I'm like adept, da, da, da. And obviously this is all fake. This is an example. Don't come for me. And then they do something, right? I find like, and I go to bed. This like everybody finds out about this at like 2 a.m. I'm asleep, right? I wake up at 5:30 because Bo won't let me be great. So I wake up at 5:30 in the morning and I'm just managing like doing my thing. First thing I do in the morning usually is like I normally look at TikTok and I'm just walking Bo and taking him out doing my business. Then like we get the coffee and all that stuff and I sit down trying to start doing my work. It's like 6:30 a.m. at this point. And I'm like doing all this stuff and then all of a sudden it pops up I'm like, "Oh, my goodness." So we see this thing pop up. Now, I'm affiliated with a brand. I'm not going to just take a tweet or some Instagram posts as like my truth. Now I have to go research.
Yeah.
And I'm like, da, da, da. And then I'm seeing people tag me and being like, waiting for Audra at home to say something, you stupid bitch. And I'm just like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, I don't even know what's happening right now.
The
I
way you the way you said you stupid bitch. Just like,
well, that's what it feels like. That they're
no,
just like,
it
you
is. It's the
stupid bitch,
way it
respond.
is
And you're
the
like,
way people actually say it though. They say that shit. Um
hi. Oh my
oh
Hi. We have like all
I'm
the
literally
integrated in the
like
house tonight. Like I'm like I'm
I'm
beside
like,
myself.
is Kodana happening Saturday? I haven't.
Friday.
I'm in my indecision, which I always am. I know what the answer is actually going to be, but
Tomorrow's
I'm just
Friday,
in
and I'm
my
transferring all
indecision.
the money that I'm about to do shit with, including pay rent. And so, because I put all my money into like this into my savings account, and then I like move it
Yeah,
because like I'm a weirdo. So I've already like I'm like hi. But like I feel like people won't allow people the opportunity. So like you're not letting me research, you're not letting me contact the brand. You want me to have a response in fucking seconds. That's not going to work.
yeah.
That's not how we do things. You need to allow people to have a moment to like
And
let
I think Shadowless and Ali are kind of saying the same thing, which I agree with.
yes.
I think, and I think it's hard because I think even if you acknowledge it, people will still be on you. But I think just saying like I am aware about X Y Z and moving on, and or like
Yeah.
and just say I'm working on it. It wasn't actually. This was a topic that we had discussed, like Audra and I discussed offline, like 3 weeks ago, and we finally like had the time to do it, and
Of course this whole thing
everything
explodes
happened.
because like
But it felt relevant still. It felt relevant and important to just do it now when we had the passion to do it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say this
Yes,
every
your
time,
your your introduction was iconic, by the way.
like I just feel like as a general rule, y'all have to always remember that even if it's not makeup, no matter what it is in the YouTube or public figure sphere, there are conversations, there are contracts, there are things that we don't know that people have. And before you start coming with the pitchforks and like the torches, please allow people, because here's the thing, even getting in touch with your contact at the brand, that may not happen within the first few hours. Because think about it.
Yeah,
A whole shitstorm has happened. You contact the brand. They're still trying to like fix the PR nightmare that's happening right now. They're sitting here discussing all this shit. Meanwhile, it's not just me,
yeah,
it's several other influencers that they have contracts or codes with or whatever, or who endorse them that are contacting them trying to
yeah,
find out if this is true. So they're working on trying to fix this nightmare while also trying to respond to everybody. I'm not going to respond to the situation that's happening in that moment. And we've seen repeatedly what happens when somebody tries to respond in that moment. Like any for most part, any and everybody who's done it, it hasn't gone well because you're succumbing to pressure to respond to any
yes,
situation that is negative. You're succumbing to pressure, so that means everyone isn't getting their opportunity to like fix things and talk to the people involved, talk to the brands involved, talk to the other creators involved. We as people and as subscribers have to realize like you need to give people 24 to 36 hours to fucking respond before you start
yeah,
getting in their case. Like if 36 hours passes and they haven't even put out something that says like I am aware of the situation, I get your ire. But
yeah,
if they put out like I'm aware of the situation, like like I'm looking into it, leave them alone. Stop tagging them. They are working with everyone involved. They're working with their brand. They're working with their friend. They're working with whoever it is that the situation has arisen with on how to resolve this in such a way that everybody can like hopefully resolve it in a way that is satisfactory for everyone.
yeah.
So like influencers have difficulty being wrong because we as subscribers make it hard for them. Like we do in a lot of ways make it
Also,
hard.
I just wanted to say, I also think that we often, at least I know I do with most of my friends, often lament the way that social media and technology has made it feel like we always have to be available. We have to respond
Mhm.
to the text. We have to be available for, Marco Polos. We have to do this. We have to do that. Or like, and I think about it more in like the scheme of like work, where it's like you're always on call because now they can just text you whenever the fuck they want. And this is something that I've dealt with. I don't want that. I don't want the pressure of always having to instantly respond. So why don't we like if you also feel that way and you like give people that time when it comes to this kind of like, not just drama because I don't necessarily want to call racism drama, but
Fact.
when it comes to brands misbehaving, give creators time to figure out what's happening and don't
Yeah.
hold them to this standard that a lot of us are trying to break within ourselves of always
Yeah.
being on call, always being available. Because a lot of times when I respond too quickly to something that I should have given more time to think about, even in my own personal relationships, work, whatever, I have many regrets. And so as a creator, I'm really trying to cut that out before like I grow as a creator and I have more on the line basically.
Yeah. And
So,
like finalmente, if you are a
yes.
creator and you've made some mistakes and people have called you out for said mistakes, I would highly suggest that you go look at that shit and respond to it now because it is a ticking time bomb. It is a
Yes.
ticking time bomb. A lot of people, because if people called out for it and the result didn't happen that they wanted to happen, which was for you to take ownership or responsibility for whatever it is that you did, I guarantee you when you get a huge collab, these people will come they will burst this out and it will absolutely hurt your bottom line. It will hurt the brand that you were working with didn't know that this was going to happen. The people that we were friends with didn't know that this was going to come out with. This is what encourages everybody to like put you on this pariah list. And like literally, especially at this size, this is why I find that it is important for me as a small creator to regularly and consistently take my accountability for when I fuck up,
Yeah.
because I don't want something that I did here to, if God is willing, I get to 50 or I get to 100,000 subscribers, that it explodes there when like good things can be happening for me. There's no reason for that. Like,
Yeah.
just address your situation. Just address it. Get out there, get in front of it and take care of it, because I'm telling you, you do not want to be addressing this issue 3 years later when you never said anything when it first
No.
occurred.
I think small creators can apologize and continue to thrive. I
Yes.
think the core of this whole conversation we've had is like, once you get to that bigger, what you would call an influencer, I would say 50K and up is usually where I'm at, which is not even as big on YouTube as a lot of people are. But I think like once you're in that range, that's where it's dangerous and difficult. But I think when you're small and you're still building, like you can make those choices and then you are showing actionable change. Yeah.
Yes.
And also, yes, if you are called out for something you did or say, I promise you will not die. Like
Oh, I'm
the longer
sorry.
you wait, the
I
worse the
don't know what I'm
backlash will
doing.
be. No, you're fine. It was good. I was done. Yeah, you just have to
Okay.
listen and apologize. But again, as people on the internet, we also need to see how like we perpetuate why bigger people like celebrities and influencers aren't apologizing or they're not doing it with any sincerity.
All right, y'all.
Okay.
So if you are here on the replay, let us know in the comments how you feel about these things. Y'all, I'm feeling brand
Yes.
new because I have a whole ring light and like I got it on sale. I feel like a bad bitch right now. I'm like, look at me with my ring light.
You
All
look
right.
fabulous.
So do you, love bug.
Thank you.
Thank all of y'all for being here tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you for spending some time with us tonight. As per usual, it costs $0 to be kind. It's so good for your soul because if you don't take care of it, listen, I am going to drag yours into that weird, gross puddle where like there's like bugs, like like bug eggs growing in there. It's mosquitoes and like whatever the hell else. And you don't want that. So until next time, XOXO. Got the girl.
Bye.
Bye.
See you